All right. All right, that's a hell of a way to wake up, isn't it? Good morning, everybody. Yes, rainy morning in Gauteng. I think, in fact, across the whole country, it's rainy today. And when it comes down like it did yesterday, sure. Last night, I left Joel Pollak's book launch, which I hosted at the Exclusive Books in Rosebank. Ryan, I have to tell you, by the way, everybody, Ryan's with us. He's in the studio.
Yes.
Joburg.
Morning, guys. Morning.
Kudos to you and Khumalo. You guys have been managing this whole studio thing beautifully. I mean, if you told me that we would basically be in and everything would be on and things would be working within 2 weeks of moving, I would have said to you impossible because, especially without Greg, who's like our savior. And even though he moved to Israel, he still knows more in his little pinky than I know in my whole body about like the technical aspects of radio. So I just got to congratulate you and Aaron on all the work you've been doing. It's phenomenal.
Thank you. No, Aaron's also been working overtime, and Greg's been playing guard as well. You should see he jumps in on the computer all the way from Israel. So
really?
I'll call him and be like, "Yo, Greg, I'm having a bit of an issue. Something's not right here." And then Greg, I just check the computer, light up with a blue screen. Greg logging in. Brrr,
oh wow! Like God from Israel. It's amazing.
That's what I'm saying.
So I got into the car after this thing. It probably finished at, I don't know, 7:45 or whatever. Yeah. The rain was coming down so hard. My wipers on my car were at full speed. I had my fog lights and everything else on. I promise you couldn't see 5-10 meters in front of the car. Jeez. The highway looked like a river. And speaking of rivers, there's a river in front of my house. And
nice.
No, but it's like a lake this morning. I mean, I went out just before the show to kind of take a look. But I have to say to you, it is so high. That river is so fucking high up. I've never actually seen that much water. I think there were probably 15 minutes yesterday. I wasn't at home, but I saw like videos and things. My neighbors put it all in this group. So
this is your indication to leave early. If you're watching this,
it's
too late if you're on the podcast.
No. Listen, if you're
watching this live, leave early.
If you're listening to the show live this morning, you have to be somewhere at 7 or 8 o'clock. Good luck. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And you may as well just cancel any meetings you have before 10. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Simphiwe is stuck in traffic as we speak.
Yeah. Anyway, there was about 15 minutes yesterday where it just bucketed down. It came down like in sheets, and apparently it was more than 50 mils in 15 minutes. I mean, that's a shit ton of water. 50 milliliters of water means that across a meter of earth there is 50 milliliters deep. That's a shit ton of water.
Yeah, it's insane.
So I think a lot of people are going to find themselves having to use alternate routes this morning. They're going to be roads that are closed. And this is unlike the SONA, which I think a lot of people watched. And I do want to keep it No Politics Friday today. I think a lot of people watched, despite our poll yesterday, which said that over 80% of people wouldn't give a shit and weren't going to watch. I think people did.
Yeah.
Maybe out of morbid curiosity. But, unlike the rain, which is an act of God, there's nothing you can do about that. That's not the politician's fault. No matter what no matter how angry we get. Anyway, we've got, hopefully, I'm holding thumbs, but we will hopefully have Kelly Khumalo on this morning.
Very exciting.
Which is quite a biggie because she really has found herself at the center of so much of what happens in pop culture in South Africa, the good and the bad. She's ostensibly coming on to talk about her new album. And I know a lot of people, she's so controversial. In fact, I would say, and I know some controversial people. Sometimes people have called me that, but I mean, I know really controversial people. I was thinking about the last time I spoke to Julius Malema, and I was thinking about the last time I spoke to Steve Hofmeyer. I mean, those two are like polar opposites, but they've got more in common than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
And Duduzile and Duduzane Zuma, who've both also been people I've spoken to over the years, and they're all controversial people, but I would say that every one of them pales into insignificance with any comparison to Kelly, because, you know, she's got her own gin range, she's got her own skincare range, she's featured on shows, she's put her whole life on TV, Life with Kelly, which is, I have never watched it, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know any of that stuff. I don't care about reality TV, but she talks about everything and she lets it all hang out. And of course, you know, there's the whole Senzo Miwa thing, which is still going on, which she's been pulled into, whether good, bad, or ugly. She's onto baby daddy number 3. You know, people either really, really love her for her openness and her honesty and her straightforward forthrightness, or they loathe and despise her. Even just asking around the office yesterday, I said to people, what would you really want to ask Kelly? And some people just really do not have any time for her. There are some people just not fans, not interested. I find that fascinating.
I find anyone who gives up their life for reality TV or to be on shows, like, you know, I've even spoken to you about doing this show for 2 hours every day.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a breach, but there's a certain aspect of life that you kind of give away to people, and it's a bit taxing, you know. With the good comes the bad, because you're not only seeing the good. With reality TV, you kind of see everything, and when your whole world is in the media, you're going to get people who both love and hate you. I mean, something new.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Hey, it's really bizarre how, like, some people just end up being villains in the eyes of you know, members of the public, and other people end up being heroes. I mean, you know, just the other day we had Brian Habana on. I met Sia Khaleesi for the first time.
Oh, that must have been cool.
Those are two people who, you see, I mean, like, people just love them, right? Not because they're rugby players, because they seem to be really good guys. And in Brian's case, I can say honestly, you know, having known him for a while, he's by no means my friend, but it seems to me that he really is the guy that we think he is. Like, he's, you know, it's like a good human being. It's just weird. I'm always fascinated by how people just decide that they like someone or they don't. I mean, I've had people come up to me, which is the strangest thing. If you've never had a stranger, someone you've never met before, come up to you and say something like this, let me just tell you, it's the weirdest experience. Someone will come up and they'll go, I mean, you've never seen them before in your life. I'll be like, hey man, fuck you. I really don't like you. It's the weirdest thing to have someone say that. And it doesn't happen often to me. I'll be honest with you. Out of every 100 people, it's maybe one in 100. And 100 is, you know, 1 in 100 is quite a lot. But if you think about it, you meet 99 brand new people. That takes you a couple of days. That doesn't happen in one day. So you kind of expect that there'll be one asshole. It really bothers me, even though I pretend to be like a hard ass. And I can't imagine how much worse it is for Kelly Khumalo, because she is like, she's so polarizing to some people. And then you get these people who walk up to you and they go, oh my God, you're the most amazing person I've ever like heard or seen or met. Or you'll be like, what are you talking about? We've never met. And it's just so strange. It's the strangest feeling. I don't know if anybody has, you know, gone into the psychology of what that means, because we've never had that before. Not on the scale that we have now.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Also in South Africa, there's like a different kind of celebrity, right? Because in South Africa, I wouldn't say the celebrity game is very big. Like, there's only a certain few people that have really, you know, are household names. And some people are just superstars. And like Kelly's one of them, you know, she's really well known for her music, for, you know, for most people, some reality.
Yeah.
And it's quite incredible because not many people get to that stature. There's only a certain few South Africans that really get to that big stature. So,
Look, I think she's going if she does come on this morning, and that's another thing, is like you never really know. there's a very, very important and famous person who we're gonna also have on the show at some point. But I'm telling you now, like sometimes to get these people to commit, and it's very hard to figure out whether they are or aren't going to come on, which is why, when it's and listen, once they're there and they're talking to you, it's fantastic and it goes so well, always does. But you know this because you're producing.
yeah,
You just never know what's going to happen. So
I have to go through like
write-
walls of people.
yeah, and you talk to their people on this. You talk to the people. We've got another guy who's going to join us shortly in the next week or two. I'm holding thumbs, but I mean, if we get him on as well, the amount of work that's gone on behind the scenes to get this dude on, you almost think it's not worth it because we do a show every day and we have guests every day. And, if you're doing that, that's part of your work 5 days a week. You think, well, why am I putting in like 6 weeks of work and 50 calls for this person when I can make one call to this person and they'll be there. They'll just be reliable. They'll be on.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I'm not going to promise anything. If she comes on this morning, I'd love to hear what you think of it. You wanted to say something?
No, I was going to say, it's like, I don't know, I saw a lot of people tweeting about the SONA last night, and they were just saying how many cops were in the area. And they were like, why is our president so scared? There's like, apparently, Ian Cameron was saying it was like miles of cops, just literally everywhere was just boarded off.
Well, I'll tell you why he was so scared, and you could see it when the EFF stormed the stage. Now, again, I didn't watch. I was at Jill Pollock's book launch. I did see a video. In fact, you sent it to me of the EFF. The EFF, it was in the Cape Town City Hall because Parliament, we're such a mess of a country. Parliament's burnt down, so they still haven't fixed Parliament. So they're having the State of the Nation address in the Cape Town City Hall. The president's going to come on and make his speech, and the EFF storm the stage in their red overalls. I mean, this is so tired. It's just, it's like, guys,
predictable. It's what it is.
It's so tired. It's so boring. And the average South African's looking at this going, oh, this pantomime again. And then they go on the stage. As soon as the security guards come, they scatter like ants. I mean, these are not courageous, brave people. No matter what they try and tell you in their PR, the EFF are a bunch of pussies. That's why when businesses fold as soon as the EFF pitches up, I'm like, that's pathetic. You're not only showing people that you have no backbone as a brand or a business, but you're folding to like the biggest bunch of little pussies in South Africa. You saw like there were probably 15, 20 presidential police around, protection officers they call them. As soon as they carry, right? They've all got pistols on their belts and shit.
Yeah.
And there were some guys in military fatigues as well. And I have no doubt that in our quite pathetic military and police, those are the best guys. Because the politicians would take the best of the best to look after themselves. They wouldn't. Those people are not going to come if you call 911, 10111. They're not going to pitch up at your house and go, "Oh, we're here to sort out shit." Those guys work for the president and for the politicians. The ones you're going to get are like the guys who haven't been paid for the last 3 months, who are selling, the guns that have been handed in for amnesty out the back door. There's no petrol in the police car, that kind of shit. These guys are sharp.
These guys are proper.
They get up on the stage and you just see the EFF scatter. Like they're frightened.
Yeah.
And they get out of there. And, you got the speaker. I think is it Nosiviwe Mapisangakula? I can't remember. Anyway, she's going, get off the stage. And you're like, oh, this is so tired.
I was just happy they upped the production for it because, man, those State of the Nation addresses sound so bad and they look terrible. It's like you're addressing the nation. In the US, they get the best of the best production crew, and it's like they have one microphone and one camera. This one, I think because it was in Cape Town, and it was kind of cool. For the few minutes I did watch, Gareth, it was nice to see a bunch of familiar faces that you've actually interviewed over the last couple months. I mean, I saw Jordan Hill-Lewis there. Obviously I saw some of the DA guys there and all that. So it was cool just to see their reactions as the speech was going on. But
you know what was cool? I'm glad that there were a couple of those guys and girls that we've interviewed recently. Those are the people who are really. I mean, listen, it's so embarrassing that the national government of South Africa has to ask the mayor of Cape Town if they can use his place to do the State of the Nation. You know, that's what it is, because he's got his shit together. They don't. Essentially, it's like a big metaphor. But I was in the bookstore. Obviously, we did this launch at Exclusive Books last night. What was even nicer for me, and I suddenly realized, like, we're lucky. I say we because everybody who listens to the show is lucky too. Not because of me and the show, but you're lucky because you get to hear and meet these really interesting people. I looked around the bookstore. I just did a quick whip around the bookstore, and I saw, the book from LJ Fenter. We interviewed him this year and at the end of last year. I saw Simon Sebag Montefiore's History of the World book.
Awesome.
I saw a bunch of books, and I'm like, hey, I've spoken to these people, and you guys got to hear like a summary version of their book. The guy who we spoke to just the other day about Russia and the Ukraine. I'm like, wow, this is cool. What a lucky human being I am to talk to these people, and how great that I can share those conversations with you. So, I mean, I'm very buoyed up this morning and optimistic. And I mean, I felt like this yesterday. Well, I got into the studio and I'm like, look at this great place that we built. It's exciting. It's nice to be part of something that's moving in a positive direction. I can't help thinking that I don't know that the politicians in this country feel the same way. I think they feel like they're part of something that's going backwards. And my last word on this will be, because I did see a little bit of it by the time I got home. He was talking for a long time, right?
No, I think that disruption was quite long.
It seemed to me like the president wasn't just reading. He seemed quite animated. I wasn't going to climb into him and say this is a disaster before I'd heard anything. So I'm glad I got to see just a little bit. And by no means has he convinced me that he's got shit under control. But I did see in the president's performance, because everything in this kind of politics is performance. We discussed this with Canton and Pumi and Joel yesterday. I do get the feeling like he's trying really hard. I don't know if he can deliver. I don't know if it's in his wheelhouse to be able to deliver, but it appeared like a different sort of vibe. It seemed that he realizes, but he realizes it's like shit will get off the pot time.
Yeah.
That's certainly
everyone's had enough, and it's like now we need to straighten things out to get everything back on track.
Well, I mean, let's see. I don't know. I mean, Parliament isn't ready 1 year later, and that's when it burnt down a year ago. Still nothing. Yeah. By the way, Ryan, the US ladies were into you. Are you still in contact with them? What's that all about?
US ladies? I don't know. It could be. It's Super Bowl Sunday this weekend. It's been a year.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's been a year. You were in the US. That's right.
Yeah. So that's probably because of the hat, But yeah, I'm still in contact with some of them. Yeah.
Very good. Well, I have to say, yesterday, just one last thing on the State of the Nation. I mentioned this briefly in the Burning Platform, but the reason I even knew there was a State of the Nation, because I don't follow any of that stuff on on social media. I mentioned this, that I follow Mavericks, the strip club in Cape Town.
Oh, yeah. I saw you reposted yesterday.
You've got to admit, now I don't know how down on South Africa everybody is. Maybe you're sitting in load shedding at the moment, whatever. I give you a reason to smile. Any country where the military can march down the street and on a balcony right above where they're marching are 30 strippers dancing. They didn't exactly have their tits out and everything, but it was just, I suddenly looked at this and thought, you know what? We do live in a free country. There's a lot that worries me. I saw a state of the nation, a state of emergency has been declared in KwaZulu Dlamini Zuma, ostensibly in control of our lives again. But we do live in a free country when 20 to 30 strippers on a balcony can stand there dancing and going, woo, while the military are marching past on the street below. That is a sign when when you can have that contrast. That is a sign that you are actually in a mostly free society. So
yeah, no, I thought it was a great video.
Take that as a sign of hope, my friends. Just, you know what, breathe deeply.
And I'm waiting for the haters to jump on it, but it's like, it's whatever.
No. If there are strippers dancing at the State of the Nation address, we don't live in a dystopian hell. Okay, so let's all just calm down.
Is that a Cape Town thing, do you think?
No, if they did it in Joburg, I would hope that the strippers at the Grand would do the same. Okay, so that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. All right, enough about the politics. Okay, so lots of things to get into, lots of things to talk about this morning. Poor old Simphiwe just made it to the studio, so you get her ready to go. And while you guys are setting that up, I'll go through some stuff I wanted to talk about. Cool. And we got some stories. All right, we got some stories in the news that I wanted to talk to you about this morning. It's exciting. Johannesburg, I know you're thrilled about this. The speed cameras are back in action. Woohoo! In case you needed a reason to smile in Joburg this morning, smile because you're on camera. Yes, it appears that the city of Johannesburg has signed a new contract with a company called Syntel for the provision of law enforcement cameras and crash management services for 3 years. Why is everything subcontracted? I don't want to sound like those protesters who always moan about labor brokers, but it appears to me like this is within the ambit of the Metro Police. I mean, what are we really paying them for? Isn't it within their job description to be able to manage the speed cameras? Clearly not. They need to hire outside help. Anyway, speed cameras in Joburg have been offline for more than a year. I wish I'd known. I've been driving so fast everywhere. That's going to piss off a lot of people, but that's the truth. If you knew, you would also go fast. A contract lapsed, and this resulted in JMPD officers primarily relying on the increased presence and handwritten traffic fines, affecting revenue collection. The contract came into, you see, they admitted there, affecting revenue collection. Notice that in that whole paragraph, which either comes from JMPD or from the press. But I'm going to read that again. Listen to what's important here. Not we saved lives, people drove better, and less accidents. None of that comes up. I'm going to say it again. Speed cameras in Johannesburg had been offline for more than a year after a contract lapsed. This resulted in JMPD officers primarily relying on an increased presence and handwritten traffic fines, affecting revenue collection. That's the number one name of the game here. It's not about making people drive better. It's revenue. Talk about not hiding the ball. Anyway, so they say that now the new contract has begun. So excitement all around. They're going to be watching us again with their cameras. They're going to be taking pictures of you, sending you fines in the post. Ooh, exciting times. Hey, Simphiwe.
Good morning.
I'm sorry you got stuck in traffic. Was it a nightmare?
Yes, it was. And there were 2 accidents within a kilometer of each other. So once I got over the one, I was like, ooh. And then there was another one where the bus had flipped over. And I was like,
oh. Were there a whole lot of...
one of those Friday mornings.
No, well, don't worry about it. It happens. I mean, I've been late for the show. Listen, that bus thing sounds hectic.
Yeah. And luckily, because there was an accident before it, so there wasn't much traffic when we got to the bus thing. But I was like, oh my word, like our whole bus just like what? But I think it's because of the rain and people don't have like roadworthy vehicles. So when it rains, I sham goes go.
I always feel very sorry for the people who, when you see those buses that have overturned or they've been in an accident, those people who have to stand outside the bus in the rain now trying to wait for their next lift. I mean, really, that's just awful, right?
So I've had an experience with taxi before where it broke down and then the guy kind of just like went to the emergency lane and then he's calling up one of his friends. Yeah, so can you come fetch these people? And we're
Shame,
just waiting. We're like, we have to just wait. We can't even be like, hey, can we get a lift because you paid for the taxi ride? And what's worse is that they don't even give you a refund. So they'll just be like, if you're gonna wait for 2 hours, you're waiting for 2 hours until another taxi comes. And if there's another taxi driver that feels generous enough to stop and be like, hey, are you guys going to Joburg? Okay, I can take 4 people. Yeah.
but now you must cocker again,
Yes.
Um,
So that's the issue. You must give him a bit of like, you pay half now. So you pay half of, so if it was like 12 Rand, now you must pay 6 Rand because this guy is helping you guys out. It's a whole thing.
Wow. All right. So listen, there's quite a lot to talk about this morning. I've got a bunch of things on the agenda here. Look, I've been making notes, you see.
I love to see it.
Listen, there's always a ton of stuff here. Someone in South Africa is 60 million Rand richer after winning the Powerball Plus jackpot. Is it you, Simphiwe? Tell us. Be honest.
I wish I was not going to be on the show today. If that was me, you guys were never going to hear from me. I was just going to be like, oops, family emergency, I'm out.
That would be a mistake. That would be a big mistake. I'll tell you why. Because the moment people find out that you have money now, they are not going to leave you alone.
Yeah, but I'm also just like, I don't know if I could do the job thing if I know how much is in my bank account. Like, I remember a show, Everyone Hates Chris, and his mom used to get a job, and every time the job would just occur, she'd be like, my man got 2 jobs. I don't need this. I'm out. And that's what she'd do. So I think I'd be one of those, like, one mistake. Ooh, I don't need this. I'm good.
Yeah. And I got to throw this in here because I see people talking about it in the comments. It always drives me crazy when people start talking about someone has died and they haven't, and they're still alive, and they might even be perfectly healthy. Poor old Mark Pilgrim has been sharing his journey with cancer, and he's been so candid about it, which, if you ask me, that's a double-edged sword. I mean, what has he got to lose, right? If he wants to do it, then go for it. And I poor old Mark, he's had a really rough time the last year and a half, 2 years. We've kind of been talking to him, trying to get him on the show, but I just want to let the guy kind of have his time because he's already sharing so much. And people have been saying he's dead, and he's not dead. I mean, it's just the most horrible thing. Imagine going on the internet. You're dealing with all of this already, and then you see people spreading lies about how you're dying, you're dead, or whatever.
But I've seen some of those pictures he's posted, and it does look a bit cringe. I'm just like,
no,
this
horrible.
is a skeleton. This is an absolute skeleton right now.
Simphiwe, I hate it because none of us want to be faced with our own mortality. That's the real reason we're all freaked out by it. But also, it's brave of him in some ways. But you don't have to share everything. I'm not going to tell him what to do. It's his decision, and if he feels he wants to take everyone along on this journey with him, then that's cool. I find it a bit, just in your face and quite arresting. It's not something that I would. Sure. It's not something I would want to share, But anyway, look, just strength to you, Mark, and keep on keeping on, bro. That's all I can say. And speaking of like famous people who are no longer with us, or are in the case of Mark, but people are bullshitting that he isn't. You're not going to know who this is, Simphiwe, or maybe you will. I don't want to take away credit that maybe do. You know who Burt Bacharach is?
Yeah, that sounds like such an old name. Who is that?
Here's what he looks like. Burt Bacharach. I think he was 93 93 or 94 years old. I'm going to test you here. Do you know the song that goes, the moment I wake up, before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. You know that song?
Yes.
Right. That's his song.
Oh.
Wrote that song.
Okay.
And do you know the way to San Jose? I've been away so long. I got to find some peace of mind. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, that's Do You Know the Way to San Jose was one of his.
Okay, so he's quite a big deal. He's dropped a couple of hits.
Simphiwe, after maybe Ben will know who this guy is that I'm singing his songs and talking about. After Lennon and McCartney, he was one of the most successful songwriters of the 20th century. Big deal. Like Burt Bacharach. Not a lot of people know him. You know who sang a lot of his songs, which is why I'm a big fan of his music, is Dionne Warwick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, like he died yesterday, Burt. And I think he's worth taking a minute to reflect on because he's a truly great composer. And maybe Ben knows. Ben, you know who Burt Bacharach is?
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Yeah.
Yeah. What a cool song. Huh? It's just a thing that there's just too little of. Oh, what a good! That's a good
song. Amazing composer.
I'm going to listen to a whole bunch of Burt Bacharach. Simphiwe, do yourself a favor. Look at his catalog when you got a couple of minutes today and listen to some of those songs. Walk on by, I'll never fall in love again. You know that song? How the hell does it go again? I'll never. Oh God, it's going to drive me crazy. Anyway, I'll look at it. But what do you get when you fall in love? A guy with a pin to burst your bubble. That's what you get for all your troubles.
This is everything we need right
now. What great songs. All of his songs are lovely, happy, amazing, right? Just great songs.
Here's a better question. What made Burt Bacharach famous in contemporary society? Like nowadays? Recent times?
I don't know. You tell me.
The movie Austin Powers. Because Austin Powers was always about Burt Bacharach.
Right.
And all his hits.
You know, he also wrote for the Carpenters.
Yeah, he was even in one of the Austin Powers movies.
He was?
He was just one of those amazing people who added so much to the musical tapestry of life, basically. He really was.
Wow.
Okay.
That's pretty damn cool.
Anyway, you look absolutely shocked. I know I look tired and I look like I've had a sleep this week, but I've got stuff in this head of mine. It's all here.
Now,
I was learning something new. Okay. He's
today's a rainy day because these songs keep popping into my head. Raindrops keep falling on my head. That was him as well.
That was him.
Isn't that cool?
It's like one of those things that you'll go, oh, that song, and you'll say it so many times. Also, like with Quincy Jones, when that documentary about him came out, people are like, oh, so that was him. That was him. Like, we just take for granted that these amazing things that get created through life, it's generally people who we might not actually know.
Damn, I love this guy. I'm going to be listening to Burt Bacharach all day today. I said he wrote songs for the Carpenters. So Karen and I can't remember her brother's name, but she was the famous. She died of anorexia. She was one of the first people to ever publicly battle anorexia. And I don't think she was public about it, but after her death, her family very much came to the fore and said, "Here's what she died from." But she did that song, "Why Do Birds Suddenly Appear Every Time You Are Near?" Right? That's close to you. That was also Burt. He wrote that too. What a guy!
Wow. Okay, he's so talented. Wow.
Look, can you imagine how happy he must have been as a person if these are the kind of things that he would just produce?
I know. Yeah. And I mean, exactly. I mean, what a guy and what a life. You can't write songs like this if you're miserable, right?
No, absolutely not. Burt Bacharach could not write a horror novel. He just couldn't. He was just too golden inside.
He even wrote that Patti LaBelle and Michael McDonald song, On My Own.
I was
which
listening to that last
great.
night. I was
You're
listening to
joking.
yesterday. As I started my workout, there was me and my kettlebell on the roof, and that was belting out on my speaker.
Whoa, Ben. You were working out and you were
it was
listening
such
to
a
that.
moment. Yes.
No,
That's the
it's
thing.
great.
When it comes to
Good
working
work.
out, I like to summon a lot of power from various places, and Michael McDonald's voice is one of those things. The things that I can lift after Michael McDonald hits me with a chorus.
Sure.
One of my, I can play one song on the piano reasonably well, and the only reason I could play that song on the piano is because it is one of the songs that I wish I'd written, and I didn't realize it was Burt's until probably about 6-7 years ago, because I always thought it was the artist who sings it. And it comes from that movie Arthur, the movie with Dudley Moore.
Yeah.
It's about this. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen an old sort of classic movie. We sound like such old farts now, but these songs are fucking timeless. So I don't care.
So.
And there are people in the comments like, who was it here? Carl. He says, when Ben and Gareth sing, I don't feel like my breakfast anymore. You go and listen to the originals, Carl. You know what? I'll make your day.
I don't care, because I know your breakfast is ass. I'm sure you'll take the courage to get that again.
Burt also wrote a bunch of Tevin Campbell's music, which everybody knows too.
Yes.
But the song that I'm talking about is called Arthur's Theme, and it's just the most beautiful piano ballad. And I promise you that song, without fail, always gives me goosebumps. And I remember walking in New York, probably about 7-8 years ago, and it was early in the morning, and there was, New York. If you haven't been there, it is like the movies. There's steam coming out of the road, and there was no one on the street. This is 7th Avenue, and I did look up and I saw the moon, and the song goes, if you get caught between the moon and New York City, it's crazy, but it's true. And I looked around and I was like, I'm living in a movie. It was the most epic thing. And this song is the one thing I can moderately well play on the piano. And I love that song. So Burt, dude, thank you for writing some of the best songs, some of the best love songs, some of the most beautiful melodies. Thank you for writing for that angel, Dionne Warwick, who just has one of the nicest voices in all the world. And you know what? Go well, dude. There are not a lot of artists I would bother to mention on the show when they die. Composers probably more so, but this guy's in the top tier. He's going straight to heaven. Heaven needs his music. So he's got a free pass. It doesn't matter what he did in his life. Burt could literally have been murdering nuns and drinking petrol and setting churches on fire, and God will let him in. He'll be like, I can't let this guy slip. Amazing. You know what? I thought I'd start with that this morning because I just love Bert Bacharach. I love that music. Just listen to it all day today. It'll make your day. Please go on to Spotify or Apple Music after the show today and just listen to that stuff. It'll make your day. All right, Ben, I've already mentioned it, but you were not on. I just got some UFC 284 tickets. Second block, relatively close to the Octagon. Fuck, I'm excited, says Ricky.
Ricky, that's amazing. That is amazing. It's, Gareth, I know you're not too au fait with the importance of these kind of things, but every now and again you get what's essentially dubbed as a super fight. And this weekend, it is the fight for the pound-for-pound greatest on planet Earth in the UFC. So Alexander Volkanovski's basically beaten everyone up for an eternity, basically. He's featherweight, he's going up to lightweight, so he's going to fight a guy who's bigger, and he's been growing up like wrestling bears. He's from Dagestan. His name is Islam Makhachev, and he is the prodigy of Khabib Nurmagomedov. Wow,
Who?
There's Khabib Nurmagomedov, who is generally seen as probably the best when it comes to sambo, grappling, and just basically fucking people's shit up. This guy's been like groomed to be his prodigy for quite some time, and his successor.
Wow.
And he is the current lightweight champion because he did the impossible of beating, well, pretty much everyone too. But he manhandles these people. It's just like it's like fighting against a bear who has like real skills and the strength of a bear. and that all happens, which Ricky's going to be watching live. It's going to be, wow. Yeah, this is the thing about UFC. Like, it's the highest of highest stakes. You got the 2 pound for pound greatest at the moment going against each other. But this Aussie guy, Volkanovski, he used to be a prop. So he's about, I don't know, 5'7", 5'8". He's not very tall, but he used to weigh about 100 kilograms and play rugby. Now, as a fighter, he weighs like, I don't know, in the 60s. So he's always been a tank. He's always been around big people. But this dude, Islam Makhachev, he is just a freak of nature.
I just love these names. They sound like hardcore bastards.
They really are. They live on like the side of a cliff. They're just hardcore people. Like, there's not a lot of like excess in their lives. You know, they have these training camps where they literally just wrestle each other to shit all day.
Wow.
If you are an MMA UFC fan and you haven't listened to the Bilal Muhammad interview with Joe Rogan, this guy, he's out of Chicago, so he doesn't sound at all Islamic or anyway connected to these Dagestan guys. But he had a training camp with him. And he was just saying, like, I mean, this guy's world class. I think he's ranked 5th in the welterweight division. And he was wrestling against these guys and just getting absolutely broken time after time. I mean, this one guy, Khabib, was like wrestling him and like full on going at it. And this guy was in so much control that he heard somewhere in the gym that somebody was ordering Starbucks. So he is submitting this guy while ordering coffee.
What?
Holy shit.
Like,
oh no, that's called an ass whipping. You know, you getting beat down. That's what it's called, Chad. Nah.
This is the thing with these guys. They're on another level, and it's completely their culture. So Khabib's dad was always like the big coach and mentor for all these guys, and then he died recently, and that's why Khabib retired. And now Islam is, taking on the mantle, which he's got already. I mean, he is the lightweight title holder. So that'll be probably 6:30, 7 o'clock South African time, or for Ricky, real life.
That's amazing. And Ben, the way you talk about it, it's like you know all this shit because you really love it, and you make me want to love it. That's cool. That's the most passionate endorsement and advocacy I've ever heard for fighting. Right.
It's absolute high stakes in sport. None of these people are trying to guilt you into watch them on the weekends. They're not telling you how great they are. It's like, I've beaten 23 guys in a row. This is number 24. Bring it, whatever it is. It's incredible.
I won't pretend I understood. There were like a couple of sentences where you were saying stuff that I was like, what are you Are you even speaking English anymore? I did not know what I don't know this man talk not to my head. I no understand. Can I ask you two something? I was at lunch. This is probably about 3 weeks ago, but I made a note of this. You see my notes here. I made a note because I wanted to ask you about this. So I went to lunch with some friends. They were awesome people. We were all talking about all kinds of shit. And I looked around the restaurant. And we were, we're smiling and laughing and having the sort of time that you want to have when you go out with friends. No pressure on everyone else. I've got fucking great friends. I'm very pleased that I could spend time with these people who are fun to be around. But I looked at a table across the way. It's a very nice restaurant. It's not cheap, but it's not like outrageously, exorbitantly expensive either. But you'd think when people come there, they'd be like, we're going to make a day of this, Arrive for lunch and leave at like 5 o'clock. That's going to be a fun day. Or maybe even later. And I looked at this table. They were sitting not on the other side of the restaurant, but they were about 4 or 5 tables away from me. It was a table of about 6 women. They were aged between, I would say, 22, and there was one woman who must have been in her 40s, and a range in between. Okay, so I looked at them. Weird thing. It was just these girls, about 6 of them, I think. Anyway, 2 observations. First of all, the ones who were on their phones were completely disinterested in what was going on at the table. So, and we've talked about this before. There's not really much to unpack there. People are always on their phones. But you're sitting with people in a restaurant. Here's the thing that bugged me. They all had this grumpy, miserable look on their faces from the moment they walked in until the moment that they left. And I wasn't observing them at close quarters. It wasn't like I was looking at them the whole time. But every time I did glance their way, I didn't notice anyone laughing or smiling. The one girl walked in like she was having the worst day ever. Like she was hating her life. And I'm thinking, you're at a restaurant. They were dressed up, all of them dressed up beautifully. They all looked great. None of them was like hideously unattractive or, they were all like girls who were in really, great nick. They looked fantastic. I was like, why would you be so cross? They honestly had the most miserable, grumpy faces. They looked like this the whole time. That was the most expressive. I've got a picture of a little girl who's just like not impressed. They looked like this the whole time. And I wondered if that's an affect that some people adopt. And maybe you guys can help me figure this out. Is it like a thing that some girls have been taught? Because they all were doing it. It was almost like that they had a plan to be like this from a certain age, and now they were acting it out. It's like if you look like you're not having fun and you look like nothing's good enough for you, and you kind of have this meh look on your face the whole time. Is that a thing? Or was it just this table?
I don't know if it's a thing, but I can tell you one thing. If you had to get one of the Instagram accounts, you would have seen these stories. They were so happy. They had this restaurant. The food is great. I'm having the best time of my life. Oh my gosh, I don't want to leave. And like, you guys should just welcome to my life. I promise you that's what the Instagram stories were saying. They were having the time of their lives, but they realized we're saying something else. And I don't know if it's a thing, because I know me and my friends, we always make a noise wherever we go.
I can't imagine you, Simphiwe. Like you smile and laugh because you're really genuine. You can't hide it, right? You're just one of those.
So it's one of those when I'm with my people, it's just 4 or 5 other Simphiwes that are really happy. We haven't seen each other in 6 months. Let's have a good time. Let's just, guys.
Right. Can I tell you something, Simphiwe? That makes people more attractive to me. I want to be with the people who are having the most fun. It makes me happy to see other people happy, even if I don't want to be with you, right? So if I see you and your friends and you're laughing and you're making a noise, I'm not one of those people who goes, "Oh, look at that loud and irritating table." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, those people are cool." In fact, I've gone up to random strangers in places when they're having a good time. I'm like, "Just want to tell you, I can see you having a good time. Power to you." That table. No, I know it's silly, and sometimes people go, "Huh? What do you want, you freak?" But I do it, right? Because I just like I like positive stuff, and I want to add to it, and I hope there's some coming back. But I don't really respond whether there is or isn't. The funny thing is, this table I promise you they were not having a good time. Now, Ben, even if you're the best looking girl in the world, back me up on this. If you're sitting there with a face like a smacked ass, makes you really unattractive.
It really does. And I think we can approach this in over 3 different decades. If you were like a guy being honest about this kind of thing, back in the 2000s where there was no restraints on opinions and things all went, you would look at that table and you would say to your friends, well, none of those chicks are getting any decent dick. And then in the 2010s, things became a bit more sort of like PC, and you'd probably say, well, I don't know, those girls probably think they want to be somewhere better. But I think in the 20s where we are now, I just think that people have forgotten how to have fun. They've forgotten how to actually have the day-to-day like we are having right now, talking about Bert Bacharach, all these other things, because they'd be so overexposed to all these things that they think they should be doing. Like that's one of the greatest. It's one of the greatest things.
I think your analogy is superb, except for the people now and for that table maybe. And there was a range of generations, as I said, at the table. I would say now probably their main topic of conversation, or the thoughts that were running through my head, is they've probably all been told they have mental illness of some kind. They've probably all been told they've got anxiety, or they're probably on antidepressants or whatever. They've been medicated to fucking the nth degree. They go to a psychologist 3 times a week. They think they have problems, so they have problems.
Exactly. So they think they have problems because they've had a couple of bad days, but because they can't talk about Bert Bacharach and his amazing hits or something else that like we could just sit down and have a laugh about, they start to fixate about these little things that they pick up in life. Like, are they ADHD, or are they, is it too late to have kids? There's all these little things that weigh on people nowadays because that's what's just become so ingrained in our lives. All these stupid fucking things that we pick up and hold on to.
Okay, Chiara Bidue says, and this is what I was getting at. But guys, it's the Kardashians. Look sulky and post pics. Now,
just talk like that, like Gareth.
talk like
What are you doing?
I promise you they talk like that, even though I didn't hear them talk. I guarantee they talk like that. Anyway, I wonder if there is some effect in the culture of people like the Kardashians looking grumpy the whole time. And whether some young girl who's watching TV and who's hugely impressionable, we know young girls are way more impressionable than any other demographic, right? Girls who are in their teen years, around anywhere between 11 and 18 are the most impressionable, peer-pressured people on earth. They are tremendously susceptible and sensitive to all the things that are going on with their friends, in culture, with guys, with all of this stuff, right?
Yep, absolutely. So another question I got to ask, were the most sulky and the most face like smacked asses the younger ones?
Yeah.
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 Which just absolutely proves the point. You know, they're more susceptible to these kind of things. But, you know, like maybe there's different generations that we've always wanted to look cool in generations, right? To attract mates. So, you know, there was a time where you had to smoke cigarettes. There was a time where you had to seem like you were funny, or you were a great dancer, or you were outwardly like a really gregarious person. I think it's just got to the trend now where you do look smoldery and sulky and angsty. Maybe that is that outwardly cool thing. I don't get it, but because I'm out of that now. But
it's just something I observed, and I needed to just hear that I wasn't the only one who was thinking there's something weird about that. Ben, Congo Chris wants to ask you a direct question. What do you think about Leo's new girlfriend, Leo DiCaprio? It's a big story at the moment. Everyone is saying, it's just disgusting. And, you know, how can Leo be dating a girl? She's 19. He's almost 50. It is creepy and weird for that kind of age gap. But it's happened in history. And she's a consenting adult. So why is everybody like worried about her not having agency? You know?
Consenting adult or impressionable youth?
Well, okay. You know, the same people who are worried about Leo dating this girl and they're worried for this girl's safety or whatever else it is, they are not the people who are concerned about like banning prostitution, you know? No,
look, it's a general sort of hypocrisy bullshit kind of stuff. Look, a 50-year-old man, I mean, he's got some mileage. But he's famous, you know, he's going to provide her with amazing, memorable moments. They'll break up in about 6 to 8 months' time, and she'll carry on with her life, and she'll be no worse for it. What's better? Is she going to date some 23-year-old loser who still has no idea how to hold his booze or his aggression, and he has really shit, toxic friends at gym that might give him steroids? Is that better for her? This is like judging people's relationships is the dumbest thing we can ever try do in this world. It really is just so fucking stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, it's again, there are people I know who have huge age gaps in their relationships. In fact, two of the men who I really look up to, they're you know, both much older than me now, but they got married probably in their 40s, and they're very happily married. They've got great relationships with their wives. Their wives are keeping them young and engaged in the world. I'm not saying that's everybody's cup of tea. I also know people who are exactly the same age who are just as happy. And then I know people where it's the reverse, where there's an older woman and a younger guy. I just don't think it's anybody's business unless you're in that relationship. Of course, it's a problem if, you know, someone is there's a huge maturity difference. And maybe, you know, Leo is just a case of arrested development. Maybe he's still living like a teenager because he's a movie star and can afford to live like a teenager. Who knows?
That's exactly it. And because his life never really moved out of the fantasy, maybe his fantasy or his way of like his home base is young.
All right.
It's really not an issue. I mean, it's about as trivial as going up to someone and going, "Oh my gosh, is that a 1968 Corvette? You creep." You realize they're making much more modern cars nowadays. Like sometimes everyone's got a preference. As long as he's not, I don't know, putting her in a basement, feeding her through a straw, and denying her access to sunlight. What's the problem there?
That's R. Kelly vibe.
Now.
That's R. Kelly vibe.
Now. And in 3-4 years time, there's going to be another story. Oh, this is what Leo did to me. I was so young. I didn't know better. Give
Yeah,
it
if
3-4 years, Ben.
if she's after some money. Kutso says, if Leo wanted to date them, would they turn him down? All these people who are criticizing him.
There we go. See? Exactly. They would say yes in half a heartbeat.
Right. Ben, don't assume that Leo is our type. You know, maybe he's not our spec. He's not our cup of coffee. So it might be a no.
Yeah. he's huge. He's hugely rich. But anyways, speaking of Leo, do you know that today is the 25th, I think, anniversary, or they're re-releasing Titanic today? The 25 years. Seriously, they're seriously doing it. So Titanic 25 years ago came out, and because James Cameron, the director, he's directed like 3 of the 4 top grossing movies of all time. Titanic, Avatar. Probably Transform. I don't know. I'm not into his movies that much, but Titanic was hugely iconic. And 25 years ago, it got released. But the interesting thing about that movie, it wasn't a real blockbuster straight off the bat. Only on its 8th weekend, I think, it was actually like the real big hit, because the 8th weekend of release was Valentine's Day. So as you know, next week is Valentine's Day. So they are getting the old war chest open to fill it some more. And 25 years on. And the interesting thing about James Cameron is that he's really admitted that Jack probably could have survived on that fucking door, which is what we've been saying for 25 years.
So in other words, when Leo made that movie, his girlfriend wasn't even born yet.
I wasn't even born yet.
not even close.
What?
Wow. Oh, okay.
Wow.
I would like to know what age Leo's girlfriend's mother was when Titanic came out.
Did she watch it and was like, "Oh, you could have survived, Jack"?
I reckon
that's a thing everybody always talks about, right? Is that he could have survived. Like, he didn't have to die in the movie. Even James Cameron apparently admitted he didn't have to die. He could have survived. He was holding onto that piece of wood. She could have pulled him up there with her.
There was even a documentary made about what are your survival chances if you are suddenly stranded like they were. And then they had the exact same piece of wood door, and they had 2 people float on it. So they actually proved it. They actually physically proved it. I reckon for the 30-year anniversary, they should have the sequel to Titanic, where Jack, who dives off the door there, realizes, hang on a second, this chick's not as rich as I thought she was. I was only on this boat to really strike it lucky. So I'm going to pretend die. And then he swims around, finds another lifeboat with some woman who's obviously women and children first to the lifeboat. So there's no husbands down there. So Jack's been eyeing out this other woman who's a countess or really, really rich. And he shacks up with her. So this is the sequel, right? He actually does find his... This is it, James Cameron. This is your sequel. Leo had a bit of a rough and tumble with Kate Winslet's character, realized she wasn't actually that rich, finds a real rich person. They end up in New York, and then he becomes, I don't know, like a newspaper magnate.
All right.
That's the sequel.
It's 7:00. I've got to remind you, very exciting this morning. We're going to be joined by Kelly Khumalo. We got lots to talk to her about. I'm thrilled that she's able to join us today, and she will be with us at about 7:15 this morning. So stick around for that. Ben is with us for a little bit more. Simphiwe is here, and we've got you to keep us company. Like and subscribe as usual. I hate saying it, but you got to do it, please. And let's get together in the next 2-3 minutes. We carry on with this, and we talk to Kelly Khumalo and a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere. CliffCentral.com. Friday, baby.
Every time you listen to that 80s show, Tom Cruise lives another 10 years. Every Friday on CliffCentral.com, Paolo and Dory review movies, reminisce about old songs, remember childhood places that are now car parks, and say some outrageously rude things about Patrick Swayze's brother. That 80s Show. New episode every Friday, live or as a podcast on CliffCentral.com.
All right. It is a very beautiful Friday morning. It's rainy as hell in most of South Africa, but I believe Cape Town's been extremely hot. If you are going to be heading anywhere this morning, just be ready to know that there is an enormous amount of water. The roads are just a disaster. Simphiwe, it took you an extra 15, 20 minutes to get to work today because of 2 accidents on the way. So just take it. Yeah, disaster. All right. We got lots to talk about today. There's lots to get into still. We got Kelly Khumalo joining us in just a short while. I'm very excited to have her on. We've got lots to catch up with her about too. I think the last time she was on the show was ages ago. So it'll be good to see what she's been doing. I mean, listen, she's been doing it all kind of in public. The show's onto its 3rd season, I think. So she is not afraid of letting it all hang out. And I think that's phenomenal. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I'm blown away by the amount that she shares. And she puts it all out there. There are people who absolutely love Kelly to pieces. And then there's some people who just, for whatever reason, people that she's never met, they hate her and she's okay with it. So we're going to learn something about that. She's got plenty to teach us. All right. Let's just talk about Pamela Anderson for a second, because I think this is worth getting into as well.
What does she do now?
So what's the Pamela Anderson story? Why is everybody talking about her again?
It's a great story. Wow. It's one of the best documentaries I think I've seen. It's just, like we were talking earlier about like virality as in like society, celebrities and all that kind of stuff. Pam was the original, proper viral sensation. And when you look at it, she didn't make any money from it though. Like she beat the path unintentionally for these Kardashian types to actually become as rich as they are, because that sex tape between her and Tommy Lee. They were having house renovations. Then suddenly this giant safe that had his guns and all the other kind of things got taken away. And the speculation, because him and the contractors weren't getting along, so they stole the safe. Anyway, this fucking sex tape got released, and she spent most of her life fighting it and never once made an absolute cent from it. But it kind of ruined her career. It's like people just basically treated her like a whore forever. She had to go through this hardcore court case. And to think, like Tommy Lee, because he's a rock star, it was the greatest thing for him because, hey, there's a rock star, sex tape, this is amazing. But for her, she was a young mother. She was just trying to work. She was trying to improve her acting career, get away from the whole Playboy stereotype image. And then she just said, this caricature kind of just stuck because that's just unfortunately where she became. But the way that this thing is shot, it's incredible. So she's now in Canada. She's in some town with about 400 people or even less. And she's 55 now. So she looks 55, but she's still in good nick, obviously. So she's on camera with minimal makeup, if any at all. She looks like someone's aunt in a beach house, just trying to have a couple of days off. And that's the way that this thing is shot. So she's not trying to look great. She's becoming introspective with what happened. And you forget how big it, she was probably one of the most famous people, if not the most famous person in the world in the 90s. There isn't a single person in this world that guys haven't rubbed one off to more than Pamela Anderson in the 90s.
You're not wrong.
And she made no money from that. I mean, that pervert from Penthouse offered them $5 million to have sole rights of that sex tape. And then these other little geeks, basically, because also the internet was kind of, in its infancy back then. So the sex tape was the first thing that really went viral.
She was the first person to do that. And I always give her credit because it was her, then it was Paris Hilton, and then it was Kim Kardashian, And out of all of them, the one who's probably made the least out of it is Pam.
Well, definitely is. Yeah. So that's her in the actual documentary. So I think her net worth is around 20 million. So she's obviously made money elsewhere. But she didn't really make. No, I mean, she didn't really make money out of Playboy. Like it was something that she just really enjoyed doing, which then was thrown back at her. Like, well, you posed nude, so obviously the sex tape was intentional, and you leaked it to people, and you're just an attention seeker. But it's not that at all. And then towards the end, I mean, I don't want to spoil the thing too much because I really do think it's a great watch. But she was on Chicago, like a full-on musical, singing, dancing, the whole deal at the age of 55. And those shows are hectic because you've got to do shows like every day for a good chunk of time. And yeah, I mean, the reviews have been amazing. She's definitely found a lot of happiness. She's gone through a lot of husbands. She even had another husband recently, some like very average guy, which didn't last.
Didn't she? She had that terrible struggle with like hepatitis C, which is the one that you can't get rid of, and it just really ruins your life.
Yeah, look, she has that. She's like, there's so many different things to go into with her life. She comes from a background of abuse. Again, I don't want to give away too much of it because I think you should watch it, but there's elements there you don't know. And there's elements there where you look at and go, shit, how the hell are you so kind of actually normal-ish? You've got 2 kids that aren't crack addicts. How have you actually managed to keep this together? I think she's just a really great example of how fame is the ugliest, most horrible thing, because there were a lot of aspects about her life that were kind of similar to Britney, when she became a young mother. The press were just all over her, like just calling her all kinds of things, where she's just literally trying to be a young mother. And we often forget that because celebrities are people, some of them. It's good. It's definitely worth watching.
I like that. All right, that's a good endorsement. And usually when Ben suggests we watch something, we do, and then we're not sad that we did. So Simphiwe, you've got to account for something before we go to Kelly, because I don't want to keep her waiting, but I do want Ben to weigh in on this. There is already a heater in the office at Central. Now, it's been like one of the hottest weeks. When it isn't raining, it is boiling hot.
Yes.
I got home from work on, was it Tuesday? I was like, how the hell is it so hot at this time in the afternoon? But you guys have got a heater on in the office? Who's responsible for this?
Who's the heater? Because the offices are cold. We are right next to the production office, and the aircon is on for the whole day to make sure that the equipment doesn't overheat. And that cold just seeps through our office. And we're just like, this is winter now. Like, the sun is shining, but here it is very, very cold. So now we have a heater and everyone's happy. Like, we have a great balance of like, it's nice and warm in here. And when you go outside, you still enjoy the fresh air. Like, yes, we officially have a heater.
I mean, it's not just you, because Rena was sitting in our office yesterday and she had a jacket on. I was like, what's going on?
It's cool.
I was in a t-shirt. No, man.
No.
Then this is not on, right? February.
This is so disappointing. Wow.
I know.
This is, I mean, Simphiwe, you are rocking me to my core here. This is anti-human behavior.
What do you mean?
Wait, hang a second. What is powering this heater? Let's start with that.
Well, it's plugged into the wall, so it's electricity.
You think we've got electricity at the moment for something so frivolous as this? Put a jersey on, crack on, breathe, have a cup of tea.
We've tried that. Wait, Ben, let me show you. So I have my bomber jacket right next to me. Let me show you.
Here it is.
Can you see how thick this thing is? This is what you wear in winter. It is currently out my car right next to me. Because you know why? It is very, very cold, Chief. It is cold. And I know that we got a minister of electricity, Yes,
we do. After last night's SONA, that's correct.
But like, I also wanted to just add my 2 cents to that. I think that's a great idea. I think like getting a minister of electricity is fabulous. And I think we need more ministers, right? And there's 3 ministers I think we need to get. Minister of GBV, he needs to just handle that completely, like all the violence that's happening in South Africa. Minister of xenophobia, because, South Africans and xenophobia, it's a thing. We need somebody to deal with that portfolio. But the most important one, Minister of Mjolo. Like, we need someone who's just going to help single people find other single people. We need a minister who will help married men not be busy with single people. There's a men conference that happens in February every year. We need somebody to fund that. So if we can get those 3 ministers as well, I'll be happy with the government.
Fair enough.
But the thing is, it's a minister coming from this government. So you can have Minister Magic Wand. It's still going to be some ANC useless prick. But I want to know if there's a position for new ministers, Minister Stop Nonsense. That is the only one. Because that's electricity. All this, it's a very big portfolio. But if you want to create new ministers, that's the only one I'm getting behind. And even that is the only minister that's actually worthy of having a deputy minister.
Yeah, because they got so much work. Stop nonsense. Portfolio. Ben, have a happy weekend. We'll catch up with you next week. Good stuff.
Bye, guys.
There we go. So I'm excited to welcome to the show for the first time in actually quite a few years, Kelly Khumalo. She's been part of the entertainment industry for the better part of 2 decades. She's someone who began her debut album TKO, which was released all those years back to 2005. She's since released widely loved and critically acclaimed albums, marks 2022 with a milestone 10th solo offering, and she's got a range of entrepreneurial endeavors too, which are worth discussing. Her own gin, her own skincare range. She's also featured on shows across networks with her latest project titled Life with Kelly, which is on Showmax, and it's currently on the 3rd season. I think the last time we saw her was actually in 22. In fact, I got a picture of it here. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't that long ago. Now look at this.
What a throwback. That's like a good throwback.
That's great,
Friday.
huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, it's not too bad. And she's got a show that she wants to tell us about. It's called From a God to a King at the Theatre of Marcellus, which is at Emperor's Palace, and that is happening not this coming Saturday, next Saturday, the 18th of February in 2023. So it's a great pleasure to welcome Kelly Khumalo. How are you, gorgeous? Can you hear us? Kelly. Hello. Can you hear us? I don't think she can hear us. Simphiwe, will you try and figure out what's going on over there? Oh, she is there. We can't hear you? Can you hear us? Hello? Kelly.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on there. Can you hear us?
Don't think she can.
Okay, well, it was a waste of an intro if she didn't even hear it. Damn.
You just have to be like, well, listen to the podcast for that intro. But I did say nice things about you.
Yeah, well, exactly. Try again. It's a bit of a letdown. That's like you, like, surprise, happy birthday. And then they're like, it's not my birthday.
Yeah. And if you have like a crazy chick, she's gonna be like, so whose birthday do you think it is, Marcus? It's not mine. What bitch you were messing with now? Because it ain't me.
That's funny. I like that very much. All right, let's see if we try again. I'm going to see if this works. Kelly, can you hear us? I don't think she can even hear us. She's there. Yes. And you can see her there, right? So, all right. I suppose, the thing that you wouldn't want to do now is gossip behind her back, obviously, because maybe she can.
Not. And she's just like, these people, I'm not saying a word right now because they tried it.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can do there to figure that out. Ryan, see if you can get her to work out the sound thing, because I'm not sure what's happening. Anyway, so she's doing this show. Tickets 300 Rand a person, available from Ticket Pro. And following months of anticipation, she is now going to be performing an exclusive album showcase at the Theatre of Marcellus at Emperor's Palace. That is next Saturday. And I think it's going to be interesting. Lots of people very, very curious about what Kelly's up to pretty much all the time. And I'm sure that there are lots of people on this show and in the comments section who'll be very interested in hearing what she has to say. All right. So Simphiwe, in the meantime, apparently you've got a story about the student in Canada. We spoke about like a 60 million Rand jackpot win here in South Africa, that's quite a lot of money. But this student in Canada won the equivalent of 625 million Rand.
My guy.
Now,
What?
You with that kind of money, not only would you never need to work again, because 60 million is a lot, but this is 10 times that and some.
Mhm. And this was the first like ticket she ever bought. So her grandfather was just like, "Hey, just buy a lottery ticket," and she was like, "Cool." And then jiggy, she's a winner, and her life has changed for
600.
all the good. And I was just like, the moral of the story is listen to your grandparents, okay? Like kids, listen to your grandparents, because had she not listened, she wasn't going to be a millionaire anymore. You know what I
So
mean?
did the grandparents tell her to buy the ticket?
Yes, on some, just go buy the lottery ticket, try your luck. And she did. And now look at her. She's a millionaire at the tender age of 19. 19, guys. Can you believe? Like, you don't even need to work. She doesn't even need life experience, job experience. Like, she's set for life.
Yeah. No, that's spectacular. And I just wonder often, because we talk a lot about lotto winners on the show. I'm just always amazed at how so many of these people end up with nothing after just a year or two, 5 years max. Then they're back to where they were. But there are a few who manage to hold on to it, and there are a few who they often have people to help them. Like they sit down with a psychologist. Psychologist explains this shit to them. They're often told not to involve other people. They're told, like, don't get other people involved in your money. Don't let your family know. Don't let your friends know. And you and I were joking earlier that if you won that 60 million, you just wouldn't pitch for work this morning. But I think you probably would. I think you just quietly, things would start. There'd be signs that you were suddenly really in the money. But I wouldn't. I would keep doing my work. I'd keep quietly going about my thing. I would certainly cut out some things that I didn't enjoy. I'd say, you know what, I don't need to be doing that. I don't need to be doing this. I want to do a whole lot less of that. I want to do more of this. I'd start becoming a little demanding, because then, if someone says, "Oh, well, then why are you bothering working here?" You'd be like, "Yeah, actually, you're right. Why am I?" But I think it would be very cool to be a secret millionaire. I think it's way more fun to be a secret millionaire than for everybody to know you've got money.
So, the crazy thing, I think in SA, like, they don't say who's actually won. There'll be like somebody in Joburg, in the rural areas. In this particular article, they actually gave her full name and surname. Like, I was like, oh, child, I can now Google you and find out where you based and just become your friend overnight. So I was like, sure, like, everyone now knows your business. And I think that's the danger, because that's the minute people know, even if you're just earning a salary of like 5,000, the minute people know that you have money in the bank coming in on the 25th, you're going to get calls. You're going to get calls like, "Oh my gosh, I have a tumor. I need the surgery. I'm dying. I'm on my deathbed. Remember that time I bought you nappies? Oh my gosh, help the sister out."
And wouldn't it be cool on the other side of things, if you were a secret millionaire, wouldn't it be the coolest thing ever to just like do great things and no one ever knows it's you? Like suddenly that old lady who you've seen at the supermarket who drives that beat up car or has to catch a taxi, and she's, you can see her clothes are like really old and threadbare, and you just find out like where she lives or whatever, and you just have like some amazing shit delivered to her house, or there's an envelope with some money in it, and you never say it's you, but you just know like her life's going to get better. I would love that. I'd be doing secret millionaire stuff all the time. I would have a schedule. Every day I'd be giving someone somewhere some money, and I'd also do it in like creative and interesting ways. Like I wouldn't make it obvious and easy. It'd be like suddenly, they find that there's a little. They wanted to run a bakery, and suddenly there's a fully stocked, like ready to go business, and they just walk in and they're like, "This is a nice shop. I would love to order something here to eat." And then they go, "Oh, actually, it's your shop."
Yes,
like, what?
I think one of my on my to-do list that I want to do it doesn't matter if I never become a millionaire, but I just want to do it one day in my life, is to like go shopping one day and then like help somebody and be like, after they're done shopping, buying for the whole month and whatnot, and they're right behind me. Yeah. And they're right behind me, and and then I just say to the cashier, "It's on me." and they like click, 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 and it's paid for. Like, I just one day want to do that. Like, they don't even know that I'm gonna pay for it. They and in their minds they're like, I should have taken that TV, but I didn't. Like moments like that, I just one day want to experience.
Who is that? They'll go, who is that person? Who is that person? That's pretty cool. All right, let's try again. Let's see if we got Kelly. Kelly Khumalo.
Morning, how are you?
How are you, baby?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm sorry, we had some communications issues just now, but I believe you also had some load shedding.
I still do.
Oh my God. How irritating. Yeah. It's nice to see you though. You're looking fabulous as always.
Oh, thank you. You're being kind. I don't feel fabulous at this point.
No, bullshit. Bullshit. I mean, listen, what you've been through, and I mean, like, listen, you've been in the entertainment business as long as me, pretty much, and I've seen.
Gareth, you are trying to give away my age to the people. That's not nice.
Hey, it says in your bio almost 2 decades of work. So yeah, I'm giving it away because I mean, listen, if you've been in this business for that long and you still look as good as you do, you're doing something right.
Yeah, I must be doing something right. Thank you so much, Gareth.
All right. So first of all, let's just do this because I know that you are here to plug your show, which is happening at the Theatre of Marcellus at Emperor's Palace next Saturday. And obviously people are going to want to come to this. You've got thousands of fans all over South Africa, millions maybe. And yeah, people have been waiting for you to put out a new album. This is very exciting. This is going to be an exclusive showcase, right?
Yes, definitely exclusive, especially for my fans. And also the people that have been waiting for the album. It has taken me almost 2 years to release this album. It's been a lot of work, and I'm still working on the edit. I'm not done with the visuals yet, which will come out before the end of this month. So the fans can look forward to literally the soundtrack of my life.
It's going to be a very interesting thing if it's a soundtrack to your life, because there's a lot of different songs.
I know, right?
So Kelly, listen, there's so much noise always on social media. And I wanted to know right up front, how are you coping with all of this? Because, you know, people are commenting on, you know, baby daddy number 3, there's backlash, there are people who love you, there are people who hate you. How do you feel about this shit when you go online? And do you go online? Do you actually have like Twitter on your phone?
I have Twitter and I have Instagram and I have TikTok. First of all, I'm not coping, I'm leaving. And I think all of you can see that. And secondly, I actually don't care what people think. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with my decisions. I'm happy with where I am in my life. So literally, I don't care. It's just the noise that really don't affect me anymore. Maybe if this had happened a couple of years ago, where I had not found the woman that I am or not realized my power as an individual, maybe somehow it would have affected me, or it would affect me. It doesn't. It's their noise. Let them own it. It has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Sure. I love that. What a strong answer. I sometimes... I'll be honest with you. I sometimes, it gets to me once every, 500 comments or whatever. And I don't have Twitter on my phone. I've been called everything. I know you've been called everything as well.
I know, Gareth, but this is a person that you don't even know. Why do you want a person who doesn't know you to define your day, to define you, to determine how you should and should not feel?
Have you ever met any of these trolls who say things about you in person? Has anyone ever had the balls to come up to you in person and actually say...
At the balls. I wish they would try.
Because you would know what to say to them, right?
It's not so much about what I would say to them. I'm not too much of a talker, really, Gareth. I'm an action person.
So what I love is your... And I've seen a couple of episodes of Life with Kelly, which I can't believe is 3rd season already. And you really are like, you're not afraid to let it all hang out. You're not afraid to let everybody into your life. And I know that it's not because you need the money. A lot of people will do whatever they want or whatever they have to do because they just need the money desperately, especially in entertainment in this country. And most people in entertainment in South Africa can't do just one job. They have to do all the jobs because they've got these lifestyles that they're trying to keep up for the public. And
Yeah, but
with
it's a
you,
tough industry, Gareth.
it is a tough industry, but with you, I do get the feeling like you actually you're enjoying yourself. You're having a fun time and you kind of let people come along for the ride. If you want to watch this, you want to be a part of my life. This is about as good as it gets in terms of reality TV. And
Exactly what it is, Gareth. I'm not trying to put up a front or to please people because of money. I'm actually one person who doesn't care about money or positions. I care about character. I care about my well-being. I care about being happy. So being in a reality show has allowed me to literally reflect on my life, on the things that I like, on the things that I don't like, and the things that I would like to change. So this is my ride, and they are fortunate enough to be part of it.
you know, your life is also, there's been ups and downs, and we've all been part of that too. It's been incredible to kind of watch you come back from some really, really ugly things. People have called you terrible names, and I know you've already addressed the fact that you don't care about what strangers think of you. But it is
Yeah.
also difficult to figure out who your friends and your enemies are. Do you have real friends? I mean, do you have a group of people who you are super close to, who tell you when you're out of line, who tell you when you're a bit full of yourself, who will be there to support you when like shit's going down? Do you have a crew?
I do have my people. However, like you said earlier, it's quite hard to see who the real ones are. And it takes a lot of, discernment, and also it takes you having to know who you are so that you are able to detach from things that don't resemble who you are. So in this industry, it's quite tough. So I'm blessed enough to have a few. I've lost friends, Gareth, to be quite honest with you, simply because we are no longer, pulling the same direction, and we don't want the same things in life. And there's no beef whatsoever, but it's just us growing apart, and I'm blessed to say that I have people that really care about me. I have my family, and I have, a couple of friends, handful kind of friends that are really there, that I genuine for now. I don't know what the future holds, and if they do change, I literally would not hold it against them. It's a journey.
It's also hard to be friends with someone who's in the public eye because sometimes you get dragged into it. So, and family, right? I mean, you've got kids, and I'm sure with you, your primary concern is your kids, and
Absolutely.
and I'm sure your kids have taught you some things. What if your kids said to you, or one of your kids said to you one day, "Mom, I really want to be in entertainment like you." Would you be happy with that decision, knowing what you know about the entertainment business in South Africa?
It's not just in South Africa, in the world. I mean, South Africa it's a tip of an iceberg. I mean, you
Mm.
should see, you've seen what happens to the stars overseas across the globe. So I would not stand in their way if it's their calling. I would definitely support them. However, I would teach them the things that I've learned in the industry, the things that have helped me survive in the industry. Also, the importance of boundaries, because once you get at the top, you feel like, no, you need to overshare, you need to let people into your life. There's just certain things that you need to keep to yourself.
So where do you draw that line? And imagine like we're your kids now, and what are those really tough lessons? Because I mean, you do have a unique experience in South Africa. You talk about how this is a thing all over the world, but
I
I've seen people say the most appalling things about you. Like it's just, it must come from jealousy and shit. But I've seen like people say you're a witch and you've got like muti and like insane shit, especially during that whole thing with Senzo. You took such heat from people, and you still are in some ways. It's
um,
how do you teach your kids
I've
about
left,
that shit?
I've left all of that behind. Like I said earlier, I've moved on. If they would like to remain in the past, good for them. That was my journey. I endured the pain. I've dealt with it. I have accepted it, and I've moved on. So if they would like to dwell in that, that's their problem. But one thing that I will not allow is the world to steal my joy and my peace that I have earned throughout the years, that I so deserve right now. So at this point, it's not so much about what people say and what people think. And I've crossed that bridge, eh?
All right, I know you have, but I'm curious about what you think the psychology of some people is, because there seems to be, like in the media business, there's a lot of jealousy of people who've done well. There seems to be, and I had this conversation years ago with when I was on Idols with Unati and Somizi, right? And it seems to be like a weird thing, especially like those Sunday paper type people. You know the ones that I'm talking about, who are digging around in people's trash, who are like taking photographs of people when they are being, they've gone to the police because they've been domestically abused.
It's like they're waiting for you to fail. They can't wait for you to fail. I think it's broken people. It's hurt people. I mean, there's a saying that says, hurt people hurt people. And also, I think when you rise above everything and you make the best of your life, those people who are down there, you become a constant reminder of what they are failing to do with their lives. And therefore, instead of learning from you, they try to pull you back to where you are. Because how dare you try and be that when I am struggling? How dare you prove that it is possible to do this in spite or despite of everything that could be thrown at you? It's pure jealousy, but more than anything, it's brokenness.
Wow. I think that's probably going to ring true for lots of people, and it's going to hurt some people's feelings quite badly, because as you say, there are
so that they can change.
Love that. All right, so listen, one thing I know about you is, despite all of these trials and tribulations, you're a very religious person, and you obviously you include that as a massive part of your life, even in your music. You also tend to, you're very open about the fact that this is a major part of who you believe you are and how the world works and how the universe is built. What to you is what is the most important thing about religion, and what do you think about your faith has empowered you and made you stronger?
I think for me, it's not so much about religion, because I think religion puts you in a box. I don't want to be boxed. I'm a spiritual person, such that you will find me in Hindu church, you will find me in Buddhism church, you'll find me chanting with the sangomas, you'll find me with Christians worshiping, simply because I believe that I'm the child of the universe, and there's so many sides to me that need that nurturing from all different types of spirituality outside of the dark spirituality. So spirituality has shaped me. Not only that, but it has also helped me to survive everything that was set to destroy me. If I was not strongly anchored in my spirituality, I don't think I'd be sitting here and having a chat with you. I probably would have had like a nervous breakdown. I would have lost my mind, simply because I wouldn't have known who I am and the power that I possess, simply just by plugging into the power of the universe.
Yeah, that sounds to me like the kind of open-minded spirituality that some people just they're not willing to accept that either. That's also a problem to some people. Now, what about the music in this show? You said it's like the soundtrack to your life. So give us a little bit of insight into how you decided to put this together, because there would be songs about the pain and about the difficulty, but there'd also be songs about the joy that you spoke about, right?
I mean, there's a song that is about the joy. There's a couple of them. I think there's 2 love songs. And as South Africa knows, that I'm a girl who loves love. I believe in love, and I think I'll forever believe in love. And I strongly believe that we were created by love for love. So there's this song that's dropping next week. It's called Mina Now. It's me and you. You know Zulu. Talks about beautiful love story of 2 people that have gone through so much together, and they are willing to stick by each other until the ends of time. And I think I'm at that point in my life where I'm like, you know what? I am happy. I'm blossoming. I'm glowing. And I found that person that truly is that person that I want to go through the ups and downs of life with. So it's not so much about the pain, but it's also about celebrating the beauty of love. the beauty of being alive, the beauty of being blessed with a partner that is able to, love you as you are with all that you've been through, and they are willing to look past your scars and all of that.
And music is just like one of the greatest ways to express yourself and for other people to really get to know you. In fact, it's probably more intimate than if you sat and spoke to people for 3 hours, right?
Yes.
So tell me, because there are lots of people with comments and questions in here. I'm going to give some of those to you in a moment. But over the years, how have you seen the music business change? Because when you started off, what was that, like 2005, I think I said, with TKO, right?
Yeah.
The music business was a whole different universe then, and it was easier to sell the music. Now it all comes down to performances, right? And it's probably tougher than ever because you have to get the YouTube hits. I mean, I see this number, and just tell me if this is right. Apparently, you've garnered like more than 138 million streams over your career on the internet. Is that right, or is that just something that the PR people made up? Because it sounds
no, it's not. Like, I am like the ancestor of the industry right now, so those numbers make sense. And I've made good music, really good music. And when I look back, well, I could have done more, Gareth. I could have done more, but I'm happy with what I've done. With it's been how many? 7 albums. And this one, From a God to a King, is my 8th one. So for 7 albums in South Africa, I mean, a South African artist, I think I've done very well for myself and still be relevant.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Actually.
Do you feel pressure? I mean, when people say, you use the word relevant now, and people use that word, they don't actually know what it means when they haven't been in the business. I mean, we talk about Madonna quite a lot on this show because she's been making making a bit of noise lately, and people are talking about her and how she doesn't even look like Madonna anymore, and maybe she should calm down.
Why does it look like it?
No, you still look like Kat. What are you talking about? You look amazing.
I'm just making sure, I think being an ancestor has a tendency of, especially the word relevance. I think that word is highly dangerous because people don't maybe understand the meaning of it. Once you hear the word relevant, you want to look like what's happening now. You want to change how you look. You want to change how you sound. And therefore, you are no longer true to yourself, which is quite dangerous. So hence, I'm asking, do I still look like myself? Am I still on the right track? Because the main important thing here is to be true to yourself, which I think is one tool that has helped me remain relevant in the industry.
Well, I mean, how am I looking? Do I look much older than the last time I spoke to you?
Let me take a good look. You still look amazing, Karen.
Here, I'll give you a close up. Here we go.
Oh my God, you haven't aged one bit.
It's because I'm. You said you're an ancestor. I'm umtagati, so that's my secret.
No, it's born you. Umtagatis get aged very quickly.
No. Okay, I'm kidding. I promise I'm kidding. So quickly, if you had to tell people, because you share so much of your life, but if you had to say to me what the best thing is about being Kelly Khumalo, what would you say that is? Like when you wake up in the morning, because you strike me as the sort of person who you're happy to be you. I mean, first of all, anyone who can look as fresh as you do at 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, ask Simphiwe. We wake up like every day at this early hour, and it's just terrible. It's not great. You look fantastic. Now, first of all, I imagine you going up to the mirror and you think, yeah, this is good. This is a good way to start my day.
Listen, I said all the time. I think one thing about me is that I love taking good care of me. It matters how I look. It matters how I feel. So if there's something that I'm not happy about, I change. If there's something that
what are we talking about here? Like going for skin treatments and hair, or are we talking about like plastic surgery? Everything.
I take my injections. I take my vitamins. I still go to the gym, by the way. So those are even with outfits. I don't just get dressed for the sake of getting dressed or for the sake of covering my body. It's all about, do I look good? Am I happy? Is this the image I want to present to the public? So it's very important.
I noticed that tattoo. Have you got a bunch of them, or is it just that one?
I have a bunch of them.
Oh, okay. How many altogether? What are we talking? What are we talking? How many? Come on, tell me the number.
I think 14.
Wow. Okay.
I also want more, by the way.
Are there any tattoos that only a few people have seen because they're in very, very interesting places?
Well, not necessarily. When I was 21, I got myself a tramp stamp, which I did not know was a tramp stamp. Thank
What is that?
God.
Right above
The
your
tramp
ass.
stamp has changed. It's no longer on your back, it's on your thigh now. So I'm off the roof.
Okay, we can't call it a tramp stamp anymore. Good. Okay, so what's the worst thing about being Kelly Khumalo? What like? Because I know you mustn't give me one of those spiritual answers of like, oh no, I'm very in touch with myself. Because on a good day,
Don't worry. However, I'm a Scorpio. I tell it like it is.
All right.
I think the worst thing about being me is the fact that I always expect more from me.
So
I
you're
think
hard on
I'm my worst enemy. I'm never happy with anything. Like I always want to do more. Even if it's enough, I look at it and I'm like, no, Kelly, more. And sometimes it's not necessary because what it does, it robs me of actually enjoying the beauty of who I am now and what I have now, because I'm always looking into the future, what I can do, what I can change, and then miss out in the present.
Someone told me the other day, in fact, it could even have been, we've got a psychologist called Dr. Hanan who's on once a week with us. And I think it was him. Someone said to me, if you spend 60% of your time in the present, you will be a happy person. If you spend, if you spend more than 20% in the future, you'll have anxiety. So you must only do 20% into the future. And if you spend more than 20% in the past, you'll be depressed. So you must never do more than 20% in the past. So the majority of the time, you must be here in the now. And I think that's probably
a book called The Power of Now. So
I
revisit I revisit the book every now and then because I tend to travel quite a lot. So I'm always in the future. What can I do? What would happen if this happens? And just yesterday, as I was going down the staircase, I'm like, no, Kelly, you need to embrace the power of now. So you can't change anything about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Focus on the now. So I'm realigning and relearning how to focus on the now and just embracing the beauty of the now.
Can I just give you a compliment? Because this is not normally something I would, we sit here and we talk in interviews, and I know, because I brought this up right at the beginning of our discussion, how much shit you've dealt with in your, hang on, don't know why my camera just died. Promise you I'm not hiding. Hold on a second.
Eye contact.
Yeah, I know. You're going to think I'm ignoring you. Anyway, let me change this camera quickly, and then you'll know that I'm not sitting here bullshitting you. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Can you see me now? There we go. All right. Not the greatest angle, but there it is. Let me just compliment you quickly, because you have this energy that is just undefeated. There's something about you that I think this is the reason that you are as famous and you're as successful as you are, is no matter what the world has thrown at you, and a lot of stuff that happens to all of us isn't necessarily stuff that we would have wanted for ourselves, right? But it seems to me like you just get up and you just go again. And whether people are able to do that themselves or not, when they see it in someone else, it does one of two things. It either inspires you and you go, wow, look at what Kelly did after all of these things that have happened to her. And she just got up and went at it again, got in the ring again, stood up, took another punch, got up, gave one back, those kinds of things. It's either inspiring, or those people become very bitter about the fact that they don't have that strength in them. And I think you're like a lightning rod for some of this stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Gareth. And I mean, I've thought about this a couple of times in my life where I'm like, how am I not able to give up when literally the world is against me. However, I don't know any other way.
Yeah.
The only thing I know is to rise up and get in the ring and throw in my best punch. That's who I am. Even when I try to talk myself out of it, I can't. There is no part of me that wants to give up. It's not in me. I've tried a couple of times to say, you know what, it's enough now. A human can only take so much. Kelly, it's okay to actually not get back in the ring, but nothing in my body or in my DNA allows me to actually give up. It's not in me. It's not who I am.
Do you think, because you talk about the ancestors, do you think that there are actual Khumalo ancestors of yours who've made you like this? Do you think that there's a story? I mean, you must know something about your family story, and
Yeah.
being Zulu, that's like number one. Everybody has to know their family story. So, what do you know here? I mean, we've got Simphiwe Mtatwa here. She's also Zulu. So, what do you think that plays a role?
It does. It does. I mean, the people before me were fighters, especially my grandmother, and who is like one of the strongest ancestors I have. And also from my father's side, which is my grandfather, a very strong, ancestor I have. I have quite a clan of people who were fighters, and I think I get that spirit from them, and they want me to go beyond what they did while they were still alive. And I'm grateful to have that kind of spirit. So I would say that my ancestors have played quite a role, but the biggest, I think, power that propels me to be the way that I am, I think it's God himself, who says, no, we are not failures. We are royal children. We come out at the top all the time, no matter how many times we fall.
I love that. Simphiwe, I've hardly given you a chance here. I'm sorry.
No
I mean,
problem.
this is
Hogging the face.
I have, but you know what happens is, like, I haven't seen you in a while, and there's so much to catch up on, and then I just get carried away. So sorry, Simphiwe, what do you want to ask Kelly? I mean, you go ahead. The floor's yours.
Well, with everything that you've shared, I think I'm quite curious to find out, like, what is this season of your life called? Because you've been through so many highs and lows, and
Nice.
you're about to enter a new season, with the show, and with your relationship, or the baby on the way. So, what is the season of your life called now?
Contentment.
Ooh.
Contentment. Love it.
Yeah.
Listen, baby, it's so good to see you. Come and visit us in person, please.
I would love to, if it wasn't so early and my
next time I'll tell you what we'll do. Next time we do a pre-record, and you come and we have, when you're not pregnant, and we have a drink. Okay, that's what we'll do.
Yes, I can't wait. Thank you so much, you guys. This is so beautiful.
Love you lots. Be good.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. There's Kelly Khumalo, everybody. What a class act. You know what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just to give credit where it's due. And we do live in a country where people are just overwhelmed by themselves and their jealousy, and they just can't give credit where it's due. This woman, she's a fighter.
Phenomenal. Just listen to how she was speaking about certain things, and you're just like, wow, like, you've been through it. I don't know if I could even just say half the things you're saying now, and she done said it. Powerhouse.
All right, well, Theron says it's no good. He just says it's the same interview over and over. I'm sorry, not to your satisfaction then, but okay. A lot of other people, very interesting and great comments here. I mean, I think lots of people here are big fans, and a lot of people are not. Gareth, you were so nice. I must tell you, it's not like I go into an interview and I'm like, today I'm going to be nice to people. I've watched what Kelly does, and I wouldn't want her on the show if I wasn't interested in her. And what I'm interested in with her is the stuff that we spoke about. I'm not going to do an interview, talk to her about politics. I don't care about politics with Kelly Khumalo. Her life is the interesting thing. And I want to know where that strength comes from. So you interview her if you think that I asked the wrong questions. But that's what I'm most curious about with this woman, and she answered a lot of questions. Anyway, listen, we got to get to George because he's online. George, how are you doing this morning?
Hey, Gareth and Simphiwe, how are you?
Good.
Oh, good.
Simphiwe and I are sipping tea with Kelly Khumalo this morning, so we're good. What's happening, George?
I was on that, and I'm sipping coffee too.
Okay, good man. Are you
to get into this?
Are you very particular about what coffee you drink, or because we've had this conversation now for the last 2 weeks, we're busy sorting out some stuff around the studio, and one of the things is a coffee machine. Are we very particular, George?
Particular. Very particular about my coffee. I like coffee beans from Guatemala.
Oh,
Okay.
Guatemala, very nice. Okay, where do you buy them? Do you buy those ones with the flag on them?
No, the ones with the flag on them, yes. The Guatemala you can find in that one with a flag on it. Checkers sells the Guatemalan coffee as well.
Yes, I've got that.
But I buy my beans from a little boutique coffee shop roaster in the south of Joburg called Royal Coffees.
Okay, you are way fancier than me. Sorry, I just get mine at the supermarket. But I thought I was in your
It's
league,
the same
but
price.
I'm not.
Same price. I promise you.
Well, it sounds way more fancy. So what's happening? What have you got to tell us this morning? I see that the speed cameras are back up and running in Gauteng, right? That's a big story.
Well, yeah, speed cameras are back up and running. So, slow down. Don't go over 160 kilometers an hour. Don't go over 120 kilometers an hour because you're going to get fined, number one. Number two, if you go too fast, I've seen them issue years ago. I've seen issue fines over 10,000 Rand for speeding.
That's hectic. And of course, over 160, they just arrest you. There's no talking about it.
Yeah, it's arrest material. So don't go there.
Okay. But of course, when I read the story earlier this morning, it seems to me that they're more excited about this because they can make some money. They can put some money in the coffers again. That's why they're excited, not because they
their
went.
revenue comes back, I suppose.
Right. Okay.
So people that do weird and wonderful things. There's this guy obviously in the US of A, who decided to build an upside down Chevy pickup.
Holy shit. What?
Now,
why?
I asked the same question. Why? Just because he can.
So are those their heads sticking out there? Oh, there's a windscreen and everything. Oh my God. So their tires under what should be the top of the car. And let me explain this to people who are listening, not watching. The wheels are on the top. And in between the two front wheels, underneath the car, of course it's the wrong way round, is a windscreen.
Sure. Okay. I'm getting a headache looking at this.
The guy sitting, this must be the most, listen, if you drive drunk and this guy drives past you, you're going to be like, pull over to the side. I'm going to call somebody. There's no way I can get home. I just saw that fucking car was upside down. Right, George?
Absolutely. Either you're going to see it's an accident or think it's an accident, or you're going to think you've seriously your drink's been spiked. Why people do that, I don't know, but I suppose it's because they can, and probably because they want the fame. I mean, they want to be noticed.
Okay. Well, that's weird. That is the weirdest car I've seen in a long time, and you've shown us some pretty weird cars on this show.
And then Formula One is happening next month, the first race of the Formula One season. Now, for those who are into Formula One, I think it's going to be quite a hot race in terms of the three top contenders. Really, it's not going to be a runaway race by any one, I don't think. But what's interesting is after the movie debuted on Formula One. They decided to fit what's called visor cams to the heads of the Formula One drivers to give viewers who watch Formula One a perspective as if they're in the car themselves.
Ooh.
That's these poor guys. Everything is already being watched. Now we sit literally inside their cameras, inside their heads with them. You see things the way they see them. I think it might be really amazing, but it might also be terrifying because when you have that perspective, and you see the speed from their point of view, it's terrifying.
Well, I mean, if you just look at or watch the race through one of these visor cams, you realize how quickly these guys have to make decisions, and how quickly the corner comes up on them, and how fast they have to react to other cars around them. When you're doing 300 kilometers an hour and there's 2-3 other cars around you, it's split-second decisions. It's not a case of, oh, should I go here? Should I turn left? Should I use my indicator? These are really split-second decisions that probably happen in the amygdala rather than the cortex.
Yeah, instinct. It's got to be, because otherwise you'd be dead.
Otherwise, you'd be absolutely dead. So besides that, Gareth, what you will hear on the AutoTrader podcast on Monday is our brand new 2022 AutoTrader industry report is going to be launched, or is launched, should I say, already. But what you'll hear about that on the podcast on Monday. And there's some interesting facts in this particular report. Besides user search or visits growing to AutoTrader's platform, there's a few trends that seem to be emerging, and we've categorized them into 3 particular buckets. The first trend is this phenomenon that's been going around for a long time called digital retailing. Where different companies are creating software for users to try and digitize the car buying journey as much as possible. And I saw this when I went to NADA 2 weeks ago. There's a lot of proliferation of digital retailing, which is almost like, you can think about it, Take-A-Lot is an example of a company that you click and it gets delivered. Now, a car's not like that. But a lot of companies are trying
you want to try. It's funny. We were talking about this the other day with the CEO of Mercedes, who I know you've interviewed in your autobiography series that you're doing. And we spoke to him and to Phil from DeWitt Motors about there's always going to be a group of people who want to get into the car and test drive it. And there's always going to be a group of people who are happy to just click and buy, even with something as expensive as a car, because they already know what they want. And, if it's a reputable dealer, a good situation, some people are happy to just, yes, I'll click on that. Let me get it. And you guys trade in cars every day, thousands of cars. So you see it fly like this. And that wouldn't happen if people didn't trust the system.
Exactly. But you touched on an important point there. A car and a house for that matter, I mean, a house probably more so. A car is such a big ticket item that the fulfillment will always happen inside a dealership. There are a lot of companies who think that they can take their digital retailing platforms to a point where you can click and then the car gets delivered. Carvana is an example of that in the US, and they're not doing so well right now. So I don't think there's a world where us as human beings or consumers wouldn't want to at least see that car once physically before we sign on the dotted line. So all of the digital retailing platforms that are doing a good job digitize the process until that fulfillment point. And only at that fulfillment point does the digital retailing fade into the background, because it's a big ticket item. You don't want to buy the thing sight unseen.
No, for sure. No, certainly. I think that's exactly right. But it's always going to be a little bit of both. I mean, you want the convenience, and I've seen some of these, the websites at these dealers or on the manufacturer's sites too. I mean, you could click and change the color of, the mags on the car, and you could see what it would look like. In some ways, you could say, oh, well, this is even better than going to the showroom, because you're going to see, if you're buying brand new, you'll see exactly what it's going to look like, with all the bells and whistles, and you can get that immediate quote. And for some people, they want that instant stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good example of digital retailing that doesn't fulfill the transaction. You're doing all of the digital retailing stuff until the point where you say, okay, I want that car. So you order it, but you've still got to go test drive the car. There's some physical stuff that you do. The second trend that we're seeing is a trend of mobility as a service. Now, if you think about mobility as a service, think about not owning a car, driving it rather than owning it, or driving in it rather than owning it. So mobility as a service. There's about a 30% growth in global numbers for mobility as a service, and this is renting a car or using ride-hailing services. There's 30% growth in this category, which tells us something about how the consumer is thinking. They don't necessarily want to get themselves into these long-term deals of 6 years and taking the depreciation.
All right, what else you got for us?
And then very finally, the third trend is obviously the shift towards EVs and hybrids, which I don't think is going to go away anytime soon. There were 500 battery electric cars sold last year in South Africa versus 212 in the year before that. So there's this doubling effect of new energy vehicles. But, if you want to go and read the whole report, which looks like that, you can go to reports.autotrader.co.za and go and download it for free for yourself.
That's awesome, George. I think a lot of people will be interested in what's in that report. It's always a useful thing to look through. And it also gives you a little bit of a barometer on the South African economy,
Exactly.
People use car sales as one of the ways to figure out whether an economy is growing, shrinking, or doing okay, doing not so well, all of that stuff. It's all at reports.autotrader.co.za. Excellent. Thank you very much, George. Have an awesome weekend. And Simphiwe, thank you very much. Big thank you to Kelly Khumalo, to Ben, to Ryan, and especially to you for being with us today. We will see you on Monday at 6 a.m. Be good, everybody. Ciao. Bye-bye.